everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of the Spring Snowflake podcast. It's been a while, because I did that weird vloggy thing that I actually never finished. I'm good at podcasting / vlogging / just generally being a human. If you have not been here before, welcome. My name is Sophie. I am coming to you from a very rainy and grey Oxfordshire. We've had a couple of really lovely weeks of sunshine and we really needed the rain, said like a true Brit. But it's sad when the sun stops, isn't it? But anyway, yes, so Oxfordshire in the UK is where I am. You can find me online as Sophie Swan or a Spring Snowflake. There is a Mighty Network. I have to remember the spiel because I haven't done it for so long. There is a Mighty Networks website or forum for this podcast where we talk about alongs and giveaways and generally what we're making. There's also an introduce yourself thread, so there will be a link down below. Show notes will be on my Patreon site as a free to view post, and all the links for patterns will be on there. I do not link to Ravelry at all because I don't have an account there anymore. I set up a new one, and within about, half an hour, I felt the tingling across my forehead. So we're definitely not going back to Ravelry. So all the links that will be there will be safe as I can make them. And they will be on my Patreon site. If you did want to support the podcast, there is a Patreon site. You can obviously view the show notes as completely free, but my patrons do get early access to the podcast and most videos that I produce. They get exclusive vlogs. If you are in the top tier, there is we try monthly sip and stitch, but generally if I want to say hello to you guys, I will post a should we do a sip and stitch this weekend type post. And what else do I give my patrons? I actually can't remember. Generally, if you want to support what I do here, there's that way of doing it, which is Patreon, where you get a few extra bits that are incentives, or there is my Ko-fi account. If you just want to simulate going and taking me out to my favourite cafe, Ko-fi is where it's at, and all those links will be down in the description box below and also linked in the show notes. Let's get into it, shall we? I actually don't have that much to show you because I've been relatively monogamous. So I'm going to show you the WIP board because I've totally stolen that off Gemma from the Midnight Diary. But I digress, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right. Notes are in my tiny book. What I'm wearing, I am wearing a garment. I thought because I'm going to show you something later that is a garment, I would show you my last, I think it was my last finished garment. I'm going to stand up. This is the Clementine Sweater, which is a design by Verity of Truly Hooked. It is a chunky weight jumper. I made it cropped. I made it actually a little bit more cropped than the pattern suggests. So it hits really nicely on where my waist, the smallest part of my waist. It is actually a really simple construction. It's really lovely to make. It is knit from the bottom up. It is knitted, and I held paint box wool mix chunky with one of Truly Hooked's alpaca silk fluff. I don't know what she calls that base. It's the Suri alpaca silk lace weight fluff, and I held it with that. You can see bits where my tension wasn't great, and the sleeves are quite tight on me. I actually sized down because I wanted a snugger fit, but it did mean that the sleeves are a little bit snug. And then the cuffs and the neckband and the bottom rib is with the same Truly Hooked. I can't remember what the colourway is. I'll put it in the show notes. And it's held double with her Trance colourway, which was a limited edition colourway in memory of her father. So yes, I love it. It is one of those jumpers that I wear around the house when it's just a little bit chilly, with sweatpants, because I am wearing my joggers, because why not? It's a Wednesday. Wednesday is my non-work day, but also I work from home because pandemic, and why shouldn't you wear joggers or sweatpants when you're working from home, right? But Wednesdays are my day off. So Wednesdays are when I get to do side hustle stuff, of which there is quite a few things now. Anyway, so that is what I'm wearing. It is the Clementine Sweater. It is a fabulous size-inclusive pattern. It's made out of chunky. I think I knit this in a week around other projects. It is so cozy and lovely, and again, I sized down so it is a bit of a snugger fit. Normally it has more positive ease than I have on here right now, but I quite like a slightly better fitted jumper. The only bit of admin I need to tell you about is about our alongs. We only have one running at the moment. I am making plans for a number of alongs, helped by my patrons who were at my last Sip and Stitch, helping me come up with ideas. There is definitely going to be a summer one. There's definitely going to be a collaboration one between me and 2 other podcasters, which I'm really quite excited about. But that's not coming until July. Yes, July. So I'll tell you a bit more about that in June. And there's going to be a couple of other ones as well. I'm planning. It's really fun. So the only along that we're running right now is the Sophie's Blanket Finish Along. I'll put the hashtag. The Sophie's Blanket Finish Along was inspired by the lovely P, who I'm in my Wednesday night Sip and Stitch group with. That's run by the Midnight Diary. And P was, and has now finished, a Sophie's Universe. And this thing was massive. She was doing an hour and weight in one colour, and it was gorgeous. And when she joined the group and when she started talking about how she was making this, I went, oh, I've got a Sophie. I need to finish that. And that then spiralled and it inspired a finish along. So the Sophie's Blanket Finish Along is running all year. We're going up to the 31st of December. There are some fabulous prizes that I've got so far, and I will probably show you those in the next podcast. I think what I'm going to do is also probably pull an interim prize at some point, because there's some people that have already finished their blankets. So I kind of want to reward those people that are who are early participants, if that makes sense. So yes, there's lots of people as part of this the finish along. I'm not going to do a gallery this time because I don't think there's that many that have happened since the last time I talked about the finish along, which was in my Week of WIPs series. So there haven't been that many on the hashtag recently, but I'll do another one in the next podcast. I'll do a lot more about blankets, I think. I think that's going to be very blanket heavy, the next podcast, if I'm kind of thinking about the plans that I've got for my makes in the next few months. So it's Sophie's Blanket FAL is the hashtag. There is also a hashtag I blame Sophie Swan, because there's a few people that have started Sophie's Universes because we've been talking about them. So the lovely Maddie I know has started hers. She bought the kit ages ago. I think Laura has restarted hers. Laura Devlin, she's fab. So there's if you start something because of this finish along, you are well within your rights to use the hashtag I blame Sophie Swan. I am happy to absolve you of that guilt. So if you wanted to participate in the blanket FAL, there are 2 ways. You can post on the hashtag under blanket FAL, Sophie's Blanket FAL. Now, Instagram's being a bit weird at the moment about not showing all the things that are popping up on hashtags. So if you definitely want to be with a chance of having prizes, you need to tag me in those posts. So either at Sophie Swan or at a Spring Snowflake, doesn't matter which. Tag me in those and I will put those in the stories highlight. That will be on both, actually. I'll put them on both. So tag both the accounts on my Instagram profile. The other way that is slightly actually more foolproof of making sure you're in with the chance of winning prizes is to post it in the Sophie's Blanket Finish Along thread in the Mighty Networks post. In our Mighty Networks website. So go and have a look, go and join up. The link that's in the description box below should take you directly in there. It shouldn't require my approval. It is a closed group. So if you just go to Mighty Networks and search a Spring Snowflake, you can join, but you have to wait for me to approve. And sometimes I don't get those emails, which is a little bit annoying. Someone was waiting for a couple of weeks and had to prod me on Instagram. So yeah, use the very long link that's in the description box below or on the show notes. Okay. Why did I put... As a link, so in the last proper podcast, the Now We Are 3 podcast, I launched my first ever pattern, my first proper pattern. I had a couple of motifs on Ravelry, which are still there, but they won't let me access them. And yeah, so my first proper pattern, which was my Radiating Squares Tunisian crochet blanket pattern, that has been in the works for, well, since January 2020, was when I first started the blanket for myself and then started writing the pattern down. So that was launched on my PayHip site, and also now it is available on Love Crafts. So I attended a brilliant Zoom session with Faye of the Crochet Circle podcast, who was hosting Michelle of Dora Explores. No. Dora Explored. Oh my God. I'll put her thing down. But Michelle. And they were talking about different platforms that you can sell patterns on and the pros and cons between them. Faye has done an incredibly detailed blog post on that, which I will try and link in the show notes. And I think she's going to add a few bits in there from the discussion that we had. She's doing sessions for crochet designers, or wannabe crochet designers. Oh, alpaca fluff. It's because I took it off and put it back on again. That's why. Right. She's hosting a monthly, bi-monthly. She has at least monthly, if not slightly more time between, set of sessions on Zoom called The Hive. She's also introduced a section in her podcast, her monthly podcast, called The Hive as well, to talk about kind of her process. God, your hair's gone flat, Sophie. Her process as a designer, which is amazing and so generous of her to be sharing that information, because designing is a hard market. It's very saturated. There are a lot of people out there who are trying to design and who are coming into designing. And for an experienced designer to share that information is incredibly generous. So Faye's a fabulous human being anyway. And that just adds to her fabulousness. So yes, and they talked about the different platforms. We talked about Etsy and we talked about Love Crafts, and we talked about PayHip and having your own website and all the different costs and associated things with that. And I had started with PayHip because PayHip's an easy one to set up. It's your own website, you get complete control over it, but you have to direct people there to it. There's no way to search PayHip. So actually what was suggested was Love Crafts is actually quite a nice one. The one downside of Love Crafts is you can't do discounts. So if I ever run a discount code for my patterns, it'll have to go through PayHip because that's the only way. We did discuss Etsy as well, and Michelle was saying that actually her Etsy sales have now surpassed her Ravelry sales. Now the reason why Faye was doing this is because she is getting herself off Ravelry, like a lot of us. And I know a lot of designers can't do that because the traffic is still, there's a lot of traffic that goes through that site. But actually having lots of options is showing that you actually care about your customers and accessibility issues and things like that. So it's one of my generally most repeated phrases now when I come across a pattern on Instagram or via a hashtag is I will go to the designer straight away and I go, is this available off Ravelry? If it's not obvious. And the more you say it, the more designers will realise that there are people that actually, they're losing customers if they're just on Ravelry. The one other thing I've also been saying is to those people, I spend a lot of time in Instagram stories, and obviously if you've got 10,000 followers or more, you can do the swipe up function in Instagram stories. And there's been a couple of designers who've put swipe up straight to Ravelry without saying that it's a Ravelry link. So I've been taking to messaging them and going, I'm really sorry. No, I'm not apologising for this. I don't actually say that. I say, I was wondering if you could put a warning to say that your swipe up is going to Ravelry, because there's some of us, me included, that find that site harmful. So it's that kind of thing of changing the mindset of designers. Anyway, that big ramble to say, my pattern's in on both Lovecrafts and Payhip now. With Lovecrafts, what's really nice is you can search, you can save it to favourites, you can save it to collection. I have I put a link to yarn? I don't think I have, but it gives you options of like going and finding yarn that you can buy from Lovecraft. So it's a bit of it's a good selling point for them as well. And that I know that the Lovecrafts search, they've been working in terms of putting a lot of patterns on there and making sure that there's good search functionality. It's not as good as Ravelry, but everyone kind of was a bit blindsided by it. But it also shows that we shouldn't all put our eggs in one basket. The other one that was talked about was Ribbler, which I'm on. I don't particularly like it, so I don't particularly want to put my patterns on there yet, but it's something to think about in the future. So I think that's it for admin. Let's move on to the yarn, shall we? And I have an FO. It literally is just an FO because I hooked the last stitch about 20 minutes ago. So it's not blocked, the ends aren't woven in. But the crochet is finished. And it's still going to be the amorphous black blob to you, but it is actually a cardigan. The cardigan of Pitch Black Night is done. What I will try and do... This is in Aran Weight Tunisian crochet. It is the Tunisian Simple Cable Cardigan by Roska, who is handmade by Roska on Instagram. I am part of the test. She is releasing it next Tuesday, which I believe is the 4th of May. Oh, Star Wars Day. Yeah, she's releasing it on Star Wars Day, or Tunisian Tuesday, to her. So yes, this is a Aran Weight Tunisian crochet. Oh God, it's just, yeah. You can see the cables. There we go. You can see the cables. It is I'll put a photo. I think I put a photo in the last one. It is a top-down, in one piece, open-fronted. Now you see me, now you don't. Open-fronted cardigan in Tunisian crochet. It is Aran Weight. I used Erica Knight Vintage Wool Aran in the colour Pitch. Black amorphous blob, and oh God, the problem with wearing this jumper is the fluff goes everywhere, and you can see the lovely cables. I had not done cables in Tunisian crochet before, and they basically have the same premise as cables in knitting. Cables in crochet are different, straight crochet, but Tunisian cables are basically pretty much the same. You even use a cable needle as well. So yeah. It's in knit stitch mostly, so it does give the impression of knitted fabric. I used just over 17 skeins of Erica Knight Vintage Wool, which is their 50 gram skeins. So I used just over 850 grams of yarn in this. It is heavy. I am slightly concerned about the weight of it after I've washed it, put it in a wool wash, because I think I'm going to put it in the bath rather than the sink because I'm slightly worried it'll just go everywhere. Anyway, so that needs to be blocked and the ends woven in. I think if I show you... Good, the lid was still on that water bottle. If I show you the inside, there's like ends everywhere. Yay. But it's finished. And only a day after the deadline because... I'm good with deadlines. I am not going to test again because I love deadlines. I like the whooshing sound they make as they pass me by, which I think is a slightly paraphrased version of a Douglas Adams quote. Also, there is a cartoon that is Franklin and Hobbes, which is all about deadlines and last-minute panic. And yeah, I'll see if I can find it and pop it up on the screen because literally what Calvin says is me. I'm not good at deadlines. No, I'm good at deadlines, but then the deadlines only mean anything to me when it's last minute panic deadline, rather than it's coming up, I should get stuff done that's not how I work. That's not how this brain works. Anyway, so yes, that's done. It is an FO. Hopefully, depending on how long it takes me to edit this and put this up, there might be a picture somewhere of me wearing it. If not, there'll be a picture of it on the blocking mats. Right. You know what I haven't done? I haven't brought a sock blocker down here because I don't actually know where my sock blockers are. Yeah, no. So, next is in my Me-Made bag. There's two Me-Made bags in this one. So this is made out of a fat quarter pack from Hobbycraft, which I love. There are pins, multiple pins. So there's my, there we go, lockdown, sock down pin from the Corner of Craft, my gold star pin from Sugar and Sloth, because everyone needs to know that they're doing okay and have a gold star. There's also my Crit and Knit pin from Corner of Craft, and my sock pins from Sue Stratford, who is Knitting and Gin, I think. Those were from a pin club last year before, it might be 2019 pin club. Anyway, in here are my April socks. So I am participating in the SCR1TNO Stripy Sock Cal, which is run by the lovely Sharon of SCR1TNO podcast, Knitting Project podcast. And she is running I've realised that my gusset decreases are the wrong way around, because they don't look nice. Ugh, that's annoying. I'm not going to fix it, and I'll probably repeat the mistake in the other sock. But I have a hoe. These are my April socks. So every month there is a number of dyers or commercial sock yarn brands that are the kind of yarn of the month for Sharon's Stripy Sock Cal. It is a year-long cal. Well, it started in February, so it's an 11-month cal. And each month there is it's not a theme, it's a dyers and brands of the month. And if you make a sock with the particular person, particular dyer, particular company for that month, you get 2 entries. You can enter any stripy sock from any brand throughout the year and get an entry, and Sharon will pull prizes every month. But I am trying to make, where I have that dyer's yarn, I'm trying to make a sock with that dyer's yarn in the actual month. And this month is Giddy Yarns, and I have a hoe. The ends are still dangling because I don't do ends until the end. This is Storm's End, one of Helen's self-stripers. Let's focus on that, shall we? And then I just picked out some bright pink yarn from my little bag, a big bag. Let's not kid ourselves, big bag of minis. I did it cuff down, just to change it up. My last pair of stripy socks, which I'm wearing. Wait a minute, let's see how flexible I can be. My last pair of socks, so my March socks were toe up. And I think that's now my toe up recipe. But I am still perfecting my cuff down because I don't like picking up stitches on cuff down heel flap and gusset socks. So I'm experimenting with all the short row heels that there possibly can be. I do not like a very long foot. So this is only 2 repeats, whereas you'll see the foot has 2.5, almost 3 repeats of the stripe sequence. It is a short rainbow and then a longer grey stripe. I used the heel from Mina's vanilla recipe with the so this is the Mina from the Knitting Expat. She does a really quite cool thing with her short row heels where you also have the option of adding a mini heel flap. So she calls it the mini heel flap adjustment. MHFA, there we go. And it's in a couple of her patterns. In fact, I think she might include it on all of her patterns at the moment. I am totally eyeing up Mina's like Cities of the World collection at the moment, which is, you can only buy the collection, you can't buy the individual socks. And I loved the Paris socks. They're just gorgeous. About London, which is why I haven't bought the collection yet. And it's a collection that's going on throughout the year. So I think I'll wait to see what the other ones come out, because at the moment I think it's £25 for the collection. So I'll wait to see kind of the next few months, and if there's enough in there that it justifies, because I think each single pattern will be £8. £8? I can't actually remember. But yeah, I'm totally eyeing up that collection at the moment. Mina's patterns are very well written. They are very detailed. And this one, I think it's a paid for pattern, but it's not, I don't think it's that expensive. Anyway, so yes, mini heel flap adjustment with a short row heel. This is Mina's short row heel. It is quite a shallow short row heel. So I'm not sure I like that. It does emulate if you did a contrast heel flap and gusset, because you've got a long back of the foot and then actually quite a short heel turn. But I'm not sure I like it. I think if I did it again, I'd probably add in a different short row heel, maybe a Fish Lips Kiss, which has got a little bit more wiggle room in it. And then I did a round toe. The yarn is BFL nylon. I'm doing 60 stitches on a 2.5mm needle, mainly because normally I do 64 stitches on a 2.25mm needle, but all my 2.25s are currently in sock whips. You'll see why in a bit. But yes, hoe. This is my D&D knitting, or this is my Zoom knitting. Let's not kid ourselves that I just do it on Thursday nights, because and I have done, oh, wait a minute. Let's take the extra needle out. I'm doing this on 3. I'm doing a triangle, which I never do. It's very weird, but obviously when I get to the heel, I'm going to have to put it on four needles. But yeah, I'm about to start the first, you can see the red. So I'm about to start the first rainbow on the second sock. Now, today is the 28th. Hello. He's not here! He's stealthy! You know I'm totally keeping this in the edit, right? He's a ninja! What are you doing, you numpty?
I was looking for the ball pump.
Is it the 28th today?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Oh crap, I've only got 2 days to finish these socks. 3 days to finish these socks. Whoops. Well, I don't. I'm not going to carry on with you in the background. And he's gone. So yes, hoe, and then, oh my god, and then it's in my needle cozy from Little Grey Girl. I also have a stitch marker from the Corner of Craft, my little dragon, because, oh come on, dragons. It's my D&D knitting, it's my Zoom knitting, it's my round and round and round, it's my, I take it in the car when I'm going to school pickup, like literally I take this everywhere. Helen's self-striping, I know she's going to have an update relatively soon, I think in May, but they come in these amazing gobstopper balls. She's a fabulous dyer, she's now a fabulous friend, she's one of my crafty dragons, the group that I DM on Monday nights-ish, of crafty people. And, yeah, I love using her yarn. So yes, that is a WIP and also a hoe. The other WIPs that I have, currently living in... Where's my other one? Oh, there. Yeah, black bag. Currently living in another me-made bag, which was made out of... Like, you know, you can get those sample fabric things for, like, curtains and stuff, like the blocks of squares. I got some of them from, like, a Freegal D-stash, and I made some tiny little bags. These are some of my first bags I ever made. Living in here is a design, and I'm not going to show you the design, but I am in the early stages. I'm going to show you the yarn. This is quite plain, there's a couple of little speckles in it, quite plain yarn from the Midnight Diary. Now, Gemma has been doing the Cozy Box, which is her quarterly box where she basically sends you a hug in a box. It's a skein of yarn. You can choose the colourway, you can't choose the weight of yarn. March's was DK and June is going to be 4-ply, she says, because she's holding it. And Gemma includes lots of nice goodies in there, but also 2 patterns, a knit pattern and a crochet pattern. The March box, she did both of them. And bless her, she's realised that actually designing 2 patterns for this, while also running a business and having a day job, is just a bit too much of an ask for her brain. So she commissioned me to do the crochet pattern, which is really quite cool. The pattern will be, she won't have exclusive use of it, so as soon as it's gone out into the Cozy Box, I can then sell it myself. So I would encourage you to buy the Cozy Box, because Gemma's stuff is amazing and her yarn is fabulous. But if it's not in your price range right now, or you don't get one or whatever, the pattern will be available to purchase after the Cozy Boxes go out. I'll probably leave it a couple of weeks in order for people to kind of feel like they've had something exclusive, even though it's not, and then I'll release it into the world by myself. But yes, I'm currently designing that. So my Wednesdays, which is my day off from the day job, are now kind of half filled with designing as well. So yeah, I've got an idea, I've got my stitch patterns, I've done my swatches, I've been a good girl, Faye. And now it's just a case of crocheting it so that, and just make sure it actually looks like what is in my head. But yes, very exciting. And that I'm just plugging away on. So I think that's going to be the only time you see it until it's done and released. So you'll see that again in June. Right, the other thing I am working on is I've picked up, because now this is done, I am basically working through my WIPs. The next thing to be picked up is living in my Stitches Tees Crochet bag. You can kind of see that. It's got their things on it. This is the Lake of Menteith shawl, which I am making as a sample for the lovely Ishrat of Fruitful Fusion. I will put a picture somewhere of the actual finished item from the pattern pictures, but this is in her. So the pattern itself, I swear I haven't. I have actually finished a motif. I thought I was halfway through one. I've done rows 1, 2 and 3. I need to do 4 and then the half row. So I'm not actually that far off finishing. A couple of evenings on this and it'll be done. Sorry, Ishrat, that it's taken me a little while to get this done, but tests and stuff. But yes, it is. So the pattern itself calls for 4 50-gram skeins of fingering weight yarn, which I think is Coop Knits. I'm not sure. I will confirm, or I'll just link it to the pattern. But Ishrat and I, because she doesn't do 50-gram skeins, she does 100-gram skeins or minis, that's what I'm using. I'm using a 100-gram skein, which is this one. The cake is just not fun, which is the cream colourway. And then we have the Red Sea minis, and let's see if I can get these all in one hand. No, let's not do one hand, let's do 2 hands. So these are her Red Sea minis. This one is slightly bigger because I haven't actually put the pistachio, I'm calling this pistachio, in. But this one in at all. So this is going to have 2 motifs in this colour, and then the other colours will have. So yeah, what I'm doing is a row of plain, a row of minis, a row of plain, and then a row of minis. So the next row of minis will have 6 colours, and there's 5 colours in the set, so there'll be 2 of them pistachio. Maths. And then the top kind of half shells will be plain. But there's more than enough yarn in a 100-gram skein and a 5 by 20-gram mini set to do this pattern. It's absolutely fine. I think if you did it as the crochet project suggests, you're going to have a lot of leftovers of those 4 50-gram skeins anyway, which is fine. 4-ply, you can always make scrappy socks. But yeah, that's that. So that's the next on my list to finish after my socks. And well, my design I'm going to be just kind of picking it up when I actually have time to concentrate, whereas the Lake of Menteith I can just Zip, zip, zip. I know, I've done enough of the motifs now that I know what to do with them. Right. Now, I have been talking for a while. I am going to show you, though. I've totally purloined the idea of the WIP board from Gemma of the Midnight Diary. Mainly, I kind of feel like I'm taking up the mantle because her WIP board is very empty right now. I think she's got less than 10 WIPs on there. So I thought I'd bring mine out. I have a whiteboard. On one side, there's my to-do list. For Wednesdays, I quite like having a visual. On the other side... Yeah, and I'm sorry for the glare. Let's do that. There's a lot on. Now, in my... Oh, do you know what I can do? I can rub off the top one. Rubbing off the top one. Oh, I apologise for the squeak. I apologise for the squeak. But, yay. I can wipe off the top one. Right, so, let's try not to glare. April stripy socks, they're the next ones that I want to finish. Lake of Menteith shawl, that's the next one I want to finish. If they've got a deadline, I'm putting them in and I apologise for my scrawly handwriting. It's just, I'm a lefty. Red designs. Yeah, if they've got a deadline, I'm putting them in brackets at the end. These ones in the blue brackets are actually things that I haven't started yet, but have a deadline. So technically these aren't WIPs. They're all baby makes because apparently everyone's pregnant right now. Oh, actually that's an FO that I haven't shown you. But it's just a beloved bonnet, so you don't need to see it. My cousin had a baby a week and a half ago, and we didn't know she was pregnant, so I had to whip up a hat. I'll pop a photo of, it's a yellow beloved bonnet in yellow acrylic. I love it. It's my go-to hat pattern for babies. But yes, that's gone already. I have a cross stitch that I need to finish by a wedding in July, so that'll be something that I'm oh god, there's it's noisy. Baby hats. Yes, baby hats. I have a new baby hat pattern that I want to try, which goes with a book. So I'm going to be doing the hat and the book as a little parcel, which I'm looking forward to. So there's 2 blankets and 3 hats that I need to make by the summer, basically. And then we have, in the 2 columns at the bottom, all the other things. Now, I actually did have a bit of a frog. I frogged the Entrelac and Key shawl because it just wasn't bringing me joy. And I also frogged the Advent gnome because I like making gnomes. You probably can't see, but my collection of gnomes is over here. I like making gnomes. Gnomes are good. I don't like making them in 4-ply. So I don't even know if that's back in the framing that it was. Anyway, yeah, I like making gnomes. I don't like making them 4-ply. I wasn't enjoying it, so it's been frogged. But I will probably try and make that Advent gnome pattern again at Christmas this year, but in thicker weight yarn. And probably in acrylic, because then it can just live. Yeah, that's my plan. Right, what else? I'm just going to hold this up to me so I can see it. On one side of the column, I've got all the socks. So I've got my Lara's Legacy socks, which are, I showed you those in my week of WIPs. I'm making that as part of the Midnight Make-Along, but I'm also making the Cozy Box project as part of the Midnight Make-Along as well, so there's a lot. There's the Aloni Sock Lady socks, which I've started. I've got to the heel, but Lone is the yarn dyer for May for the Stripy Sock Cow, so I'm not picking those up again until next month. I'm making some socks for Amelia. Right. There. I'm making some socks for Amelia, which actually I think I might frog because I'm not enjoying them. So I think what I might do is frog them and make her actual socks, like dimensions to her feet, rather than, I was going to make her tube socks, but stretchy, like with, so rib all the way up, and rib, just tubes of rib are really boring. And that's why I quite like socks, is because you go round and round and round, and then just as you're getting a bit bored of going round and round and round, you get to a heel. So you do your cuff, and then you do a bit, and then you get to a heel, and then you do a bit, and then you get to a toe. And it's just, I think that's why a lot of people like socks. Yes. So I think I'm going to frog those and start them again. So I won't take them off the WIP board because they will be a WIP. They'll just be a slightly different WIP. My Friendship Link socks, which is a Yarn Badger yarn, and it's a design by Laura of the Lonely Knitter. The Yarn Badger is sometime, I think she's August. So I'll be doing those then. West Yorkshire Spinners, same deal. They're one of the named brands, so I'll be doing it the same as that. Jelly Rolls. A group that I am in on Instagram have decided that we're all doing jelly rolls. To be honest, weekly we decide we're going to do this pattern and we all enable each other and then it kind of peters out. But jelly rolls seems to stick. So we're all doing jelly rolls, and I started the little roll of one of the jelly rolls and then I put it down. So I think because that's probably going to be a stripey, I'm going to put that into a month that doesn't have a designer that I own yarn for. And then down the bottom of that list is Beau the Dragon. So for those of you who watched my week of WIPs, you'll have seen a tiny tail of a Toft Lunar New Year dragon that I was making for Amelia for her birthday, and then I lost steam with it because I had to frog quite a lot of it. Somehow I lost like 12 stitches in the round, and I don't really understand how I did it, but I did, so I had to frog quite a lot of it back. So that's kind of in the naughty corner right now. I will make it. I just need to want to, and at the moment I don't. The other side of the column is my love note, which will be my next garment that I want to finish. My RBG tank. I'm making a flax light out of the Truly Hooked Blanket Club. Now, the last 2 minis came through the post last week, so I need to add those in. So that might be my round and round knitting once I get the April sock finished. Because, yeah, I think that's going to be my round and round. But although actually the love note is round and round knitting at the moment as well, because I'm doing the sleeves. My Slipstravaganza, I need to pick that up at some point. I'm not sure when. And then it's all the blankets. So, in no particular order, the blankets that I am working on right now, my Sophie's Universe, working on right now. Blankets do not count as WIPs. They count as long-term projects. That's not my rule, but I'm following it. So I have 6. Yes, 6. I swear we came up with 7. Maybe I'm missing one. Maybe not. Sophie's Universe. Big project. Has been going since 2015. My Giddy Yarns Granny Square blanket. I'm really enjoying that. I am slightly behind on it because I was catching up with my 12 days box, and now I need to put in the I need to make, I think 2, 6. I need to make 11 granny squares to catch myself up with this year's club, but then also I've got all of last year's club to put in as well. So there's some stuff to do on that. My Polygon Blanket, which is my Gamer Crafting blanket. I'm not going to lie, I'm not really enjoying that. I'm not sure why. Part of me is thinking because it's a seamed blanket. Now I'm doing another blanket that will need seaming, which is the Vivid blanket out of Irish Artisan Yarns from last year. But I'm not so worried about seaming that. I don't know why. Whereas the Vivid... the Polygon blanket, sorry, not the Vivid blanket, the Polygon blanket, or the Vivid blanket is squares, the Polygon blanket it's hexagons. And I do have another hexagon pattern by Susie from It's a Stitch Up. I think it's called Keris's Hexagons, which is join as you go. So part of me is thinking I might rip out the polygons that I already have, and I think I have like 7 polygons for the Gamer Crafting Blanket Club, and do those. The other option is I do something completely different with that blanket club. I don't I actually don't know. So every month I get 200 grams of DK, sparkle DK, with that. So by the time the 12 months is over, I'm going to have 2.4 kilos of yarn. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do now, because I was going to do polygons, but the polygons take up so little yarn that actually I'm just like, I'm staring at this not decreasing ball of yarn as I'm making these polygons and going, when will this end? When will this end? So I'm not sure. I think I'm going to frog, take that one off, keep the yarn back and do something with it. Like, there's a lot of yarn. And actually, one of my thoughts is, wait until I've got all the yarn, and then that's 2 sweater quantities. I could just make some fabulous sparkly jumpers. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I'm not sure. I am probably going to frog it, though. So I've talked about the Vivid for the Irish Artisan Yarns, and the last one is my temperature blanket, which is a daily thing. I'm doing that as part of the SCR1 TNO square a day cal. It's not a square, it's a line. I have finished the first quarter. I'm on to the second quarter. I am nowhere near catching up because I've just been working on the cardigan to try and get that finished. So that's my WIP list. I think, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm taking Polygon off as well, because I think now I've said it out loud, I am done. I don't want to do it anymore. There you go. Done. Decision made. So, should we work out how many WIPs I have? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20, including blankets. If we didn't include blankets, 15. I'm going to get the stripy socks off my plate. Well, I need to get them finished by the end of the month, so I've got 2.5 days to finish them. I don't need to, but I want to in order to get my extra entry. Lake of Menteith will be done relatively quickly, so that'll take me down to 13 WIPs. And by that point, I'll be allowed a new cast on. Right? Right? Yeah, although actually I want to get the hats done. The baby stuff done, and then it's done, isn't it? Right. So, I thought I'd also talk to you about what I'm reading / watching, because there's been quite a lot over the last couple of months. Let's talk about reading first. So the thing that I have, I'm looking down at my notes because, yeah, I'm rereading the Roman Nova series. Now, if you like kind of thriller with a bit of romance type books that are easy reads, but not like what I would call chick lit, the Roman Nova series is really good. It's by an author called Alison Morton. I actually know her husband from the Planner days. Steve's fabulous. He is also known as Mr. Filofaxy. And Alison actually writes really nicely. She's a lovely author to read. And the Roman Nova series is about a kind of alternate reality where the Roman Empire didn't fall. And it's just, I really enjoy her style of writing. So I've gone back and I'm rereading the ones I already have read. I've read 1, 2, and 3. Not now, I've read it before. So I've just finished book 1 again, which is Inceptio. Inceptio. And the next one is Perfiditas. However, she came out with a 1.5, which I haven't read, which is called Carina. Carina. So I think I want to read that next. But I love it. I literally can't put them down. They're fabulous. They're really, really nice books and they're really easy reads. So if you are looking for thriller, it's kind of like a police army drama, not really. There's fear of death, there's peril. It's a strong woman, strong female society, which I like as well. Yeah, the Roman Nova series is really good. The other thing that I have started just reading is a non-fiction book by Joshua Woolrich, who is a junior doctor, but his specialty is food, basically, nutrition. So he has just released a book called Food Isn't Medicine. I've just started that. I'm reading through the introduction at the moment, and I'm really excited about it. He's brilliant on Instagram of kind of debunking health and food and nutrition myths. He's absolutely amazing. I really, really like following him on Instagram. And he has just released his book. His style of writing suits my style of reading, so I'm looking forward to kind of dipping into that as well. But that is in tiny little chunks as well, so it's quite a nice, easy, I think it's going to be quite an easy read. So yeah, Food Isn't Medicine. Other things. Watching. I watched Crazy Rich Asians yesterday. That's the first time I've ever seen that film. Loved it. Can't believe I've not watched it before. So yeah, Crazy Rich Asians. That film is fab. I also watched the new Emma, with the Bill Nighy as the dad. Really lovely version of it. There's now like 4 versions of Emma. There's 2 films and 2 TV series. There must be more than that as well. That led me to watch the BBC adaptation, which had Johnny Lee Miller as Mr. Knightley. He is my favourite Mr. Knightley. I don't like the Gwyneth Paltrow film, and the Kate Beckinsale TV series from ITV from the mid-90s is very dated now, and it's also not, it hasn't aged in terms of its filming. It hasn't aged well. So yes, it's been quite nice to revisit Emma. It's not my favourite Jane Austen book, because Emma is... she's not a nice human being. Oh, actually, if you count Clueless as a version of Emma, that might be my favourite version of Emma. Because it is. Clueless is based on that book. But yeah, the new version with Bill Nighy as the dad it's ridiculous. There's some really hilarious bits. I don't know if it beats the Johnny Lee Miller version. But yes, Emma, I've been watching those as well. Marvel, the newest thing, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Been watching that on Disney Plus. Absolutely loved it. I binged a couple because I was behind. I think Chris had watched some, and then I don't like watching them without him, and then I just binged them. Gets quite dark. It's quite a dark one. And interestingly, we had just watched Captain America and the Winter Soldier, the film, about 4 weeks ago. So it was quite nice to have that fresh about Bucky's story and things like that. My dad is currently watching through the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, the same way that we are, and he has now leapfrogged us because we haven't rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy. He watched Guardians yesterday and didn't like it. You can see by my face that I'm kind of on the precipice of disowning my father. I won't. I love him, but his taste in films is poor. He thinks that Iron Man 2 is better than Winter Soldier. I worry about him. Mm-hmm. What else have I watched? Oh! And the newest thing that I am slightly obsessed with, and it's all my crafty dragon's fault, is Critical Role. I have started watching campaign 2 of Critical Role. I am halfway through episode 2. Yes, 2. They're about to try and leave the tavern. Disguised. For those of you who've watched Critical Role. Critical Role is a D&D campaign that is run by voice actors in the US. It is massive. Campaign 2 started in 2018 and I believe it is still going. D&D games last a long time, or D&D campaigns last a long time. So yes, that I'm really enjoying. I'm listening to it in the car as a podcast, and then when I can be at home, I'm watching it on YouTube as well. So I'm kind of either-oring it. It's actually really good. I have a 20-minute commute to go and pick Amelia up from school every day. So that 20 minutes, I'm using it wisely by listening to Critical Role. So, yes. What else has been going on? So life stuff. I got my hair cut. It doesn't really look any different, but the fringe is slightly shorter. It's not that much shorter, but it is. I just look a little bit more put together. Had my eyebrows done. Yay. That was actually the thing that I was most worried about, was getting my eyebrows done. I have a fabulous beautician who does that. And Amelia's back at school now, so it means that kind of we're getting back into a routine of Chris goes and does drop-off. Both of us work in the day. We're trying to have our lunch breaks off together and go and do a workout in the garage gym. I go and do pickup. We have a couple of hours with Amelia before she goes to bed, and then evening activity. And my evenings are kind of split between spending time with Chris and seeing people online. So I have my Wednesday night Sip and Stitch, which is fab. It's run by the Midnight Diary, Gemma, and I've made some amazing friends through that over the last year. We celebrated our anniversary of that being on Zoom for that Sip and Stitch a couple of weeks ago. There was an award ceremony. I didn't come off well. Chief enabler. Yeah, I'm not even going to deny it. And I have Thursday night D&D, which is run by one of my school friends, and there's school friends that are playing within it, so that's just lovely to see them every week, and to not have to just talk about life and just play. We are currently... So my character is a half-elf paladin called Ellen Zera, or Zera for short. We're all level 12 at the moment, so we're pretty badass. The one thing I love about being paladin is that I get to have a pretty awesome sword. My sword is sentient and called, oh good lord, Tiralai. Tiralai loves gems and will, if you introduce a gem to him, he will then subsume it and it will end up on the hilt somewhere. It's very cool. But yeah, Tiralai is sentient. He's very helpful, and only I can hear him. But everyone knows that he has special powers. He's also a little bit bloodthirsty. It's quite cool. I also am able to summon an animal, and I have a war horse through that called Percy for short. Zera's just badass. She's the only female in her group. She's, because she's a half-elf, she's charismatic. She can get things done from chatting to people. And generally, I think we have a quite nice balanced group. We have two barbarians, well, one barbarian and one barbarian rogue. We have a ranger, so archer. We have a dwarf cleric who is very good at healing. He loves his books. And we did have a tiefling sorcerer who has disappeared. And suddenly we now have a insert race here, because we haven't actually decided what race he is, bard, who is trying to join our group. Played by the same person in real life, but... So we don't know what's happened to our tiefling. I'm slightly worried about the fact that we're not going to have area of effect spells anymore, because his, firebolt and cone of cold and the things that get, multiple people in one spell, we rely on those during combat. So I'm slightly concerned that we no longer have that, which means that actually us tanks, the barbarians and me, might get hit a bit more than we currently are. A little bit worried about that, but it's fine. And just having a bard is going to be very interesting. So I'm not sure where that's going. Thursdays are going to be quite interesting for the next couple of months. And then on Mondays, I have my Crafty Dragons, which I DM. So I run that. DM means Dungeon Master for people who don't know D&D. So we are currently doing the campaign, which is the Lost Mine of Found Delver, which is a kind of entry level, levels 1 to 5 campaign. And they're doing really well. So it's a group of 8 of us, of kind of crafty people, all that I know from Instagram and from the kind of Yarny community, who wanted to come together and generally just be a bit nerdy together. We have a paladin, we have a ranger, we have 2 sorcerers. No, one of our sorcerers has left. We have a sorcerer, we have a druid, we have a monk, we have a bard. So we have a real mix of classes. And they're on level 2 at the moment. They are, we've rescued a human from a goblin posse. We've gone and explored the town. We've been given lots of things that we could do, and they've decided to go and rescue the main kind of character in why they're here, the dwarf, Gundren Rockseeker from Cragmore Castle, which is also filled full of goblins. And they've just got there. So I'm really enjoying DMing. I really didn't know how I would cope with being a dungeon master, because you do have to be... Lost Mine of Phandelver is actually a really, really good campaign for a new DM, because there is a really good mix of running combat and roleplay. And Phandalin, which is the town, is a big sandbox of options. So you don't have like a story arc that you follow all the way through. With this one, I've given them there's loads of things they could do. And they get to choose. Which means that my improv skills are being tested. But it's good, because actually, me being able to improv and roleplay well as the DM in my Monday night group is actually making my character better in my Thursday night group. Which is perfect. It's making me enjoy Thursday nights. I enjoyed them anyway, but I'm enjoying it even more because of that. So that's really good. Other than that, like I participate in kind of on and off things. I do my sip and stitch for my patrons. There's the hookup which is run by the global hookup, which is run by the Crochet Circle podcast, Faye. Every month I host a get together for my school friends, which has been really nice. Mostly, like, sometimes it's birthdays, sometimes it's just getting together. We did a Christmas quiz. It's nice. But yeah, other than that, the only other thing I need to tell you about is I am currently doing a small D-stash, on my Instagram D-stash profile, which is at Sophie's D-stash, really easy, all one word. There's some yarn on there. I'm going to go through my minis at some point, my mini collection at some point, and put some of those on there as well. But that won't be for a couple of weeks, I don't think. But yeah, I'm trying to kind of go through the stuff that just doesn't bring me joy anymore. Much like I'm doing with like frogging stuff as well. So I think that's it. Please do come and join us over on Mighty Networks. That's a really nice little place. It's been a little bit quiet recently, ever since the end of the Tunisian along. But do come and have a chat with us. Put your blanket projects in there, because I think that's the more surefire way of actually getting noticed and getting prizes for your blankets. If you do fancy coming and supporting me on Patreon, you would be most welcome. If not, giving this video a like and coming and subscribing to my channel is always welcome as well. I am trying to put something out publicly at least once a month. I'm planning on doing June vlogs, but we know my track record with vlogging, so I'll try and do half of June at least. Yeah, try and do a podcast or some sort of video for you at least once a month, so that you can kind of keep up with what I'm up to. Otherwise, I post fairly regularly on my Instagram profile, which is at Sophie Swan. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.